Hello, hello, and welcome to a special episode of Decaf. Mark and I are back with you, but we also have our friend and coworker Jordan Long, who I was afraid that he was going to be 6 feet under by this time this week after all the legislative session chaos of the last few weeks. But we are happy to see Jordan alive and well and thriving. Jordan, how you feeling? Have you caught up on any sleep at all whatsoever?
Alive. I don't know about well, but alive.
Okay, well, we'll take what we can get. The reason I'm giving Jordan such a hard time right now is because Jordan is the head of our government relations team for Beacon Center and our C4 partner, Beacon Impact. And as you know, if you have watched the local news over the last few weeks, the legislative session was going in full force. It has ended as of last Friday, but despite all of the chaos and the distractions that happened this year, Beacon Center and Beacon Impact actually had a really surprisingly great year. We have a recap blog up on our website right now, but we wanted to invite Jordan on to banter with us, but also to give us a rundown of everything that happened from his perspective. Running all of the Beacon Impact lobbying and advocacy for this year. So, Jordan, if you're ready to go, I'm going to start peppering you with some questions.
I'm ready to go.
And before we
All
start,
right.
can we thank Jordan? He is the lucky charm. We've done that
Yeah.
every week. Usually I have to restart my computer each time we go on there, and Jordan somehow has made this work for the first time in like a year. So thank you for being on, Jordan.
Of course.
Sometimes I tend to think like if I'm in a bad mood while I'm cooking, my food ends up bad. And so I think me and Mark just maybe have bad mojo with our recording software. And Jordan, you balanced us out and you brought the sunshine to it. And now our recording software wants to work. So you are our lucky charm.
Yeah, it's probably the first time anyone's ever said that, but I'll take it.
We'll just claim it and own it. So I think the easiest way to go through this is Mark and I talked about things from the blueprint that we created a few weeks ago. A few months ago now. Beacon went to all of the people in Tennessee. We did a poll, we did a listening tour, we did focus groups, and we came up with issues that were bugging Tennesseans that they wanted to see fixed. Our advocacy partner, Beacon Impact, took those things and turned them into legislative action this year. And that is what I want my guy Jordan to talk about. So let's just take it from the top and start with housing costs. We all know that Tennessee has the fourth largest increase in housing prices in the nation. It's a problem. Jordan, what did Beacon Impact do this year to change that, to help that?
Yeah. Well, with our General Assemblies being 2 years, we can start things this year that we can pass this year, or we can carry them over to next year. And we've done that for some. So we filed legislation around property tax caps, where if a local government wants to raise property taxes beyond 2% plus inflation, you have to send it to a vote. You better make a case for your property tax increase to your voters.
Take it. Yeah. Better make the case.
Filed. Absolutely. And so we have that filed, and we also filed legislation and passed legislation to abolish what's called the pending ordinance doctrine. And it's a common law doctrine. It's not something that is really got like longstanding jurisprudential value, I think. But basically what it allows for when it's used is for a local government to rezone a piece of property, or to cut off the granting of a permit because someone has filed, like a council member or a commissioner has filed a zoning change or historic overlay. So like imagine a scenario when you buy this piece of property and you know that you want to build XYZ on it, and some of your local government, some elected official catches wind of that and they file a zoning change on it. And just because they filed that zoning change, which is different from what it's currently zoned as, it cuts off your ability to get that permit.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, Mark and I talked about this on a previous podcast. Filing it is not the same as having the elected body vote on it. This pending ordinance doctrine means that they can file it and start enforcing it. And we heard about a lot of egregious abuses of this law and said, no, not on our watch. And so I'm really proud that Beacon Impact was able to push that across the finish line. And Jordan did his first legislative testimony in committee about it and absolutely killed it. So proud of you.
Yeah, well, thanks. I mean, and like you said, it is very different from enforcing something that's passed and has been signed by like the leader of a local government, like a mayor. And as far as I know, Tennessee is now the first state in the nation to outright ban the use of the pending ordinance doctrine. So there's some other states with some limitations on it, but it isn't soon, once it's signed into law, will no longer be used in Tennessee.
Also, the first time anybody's ever used the term jurisprudential on this podcast, just so we know. IQ certainly elevates with Jordan on there, so that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our little lawyer in training knows all the big words, and we're just sitting here watching in awe.
No, well, and when I think about the pending ordinance doctrine, right? Like I said, I gave an example of that, but we know that it was being used here in Nashville. I mean, it came out of a lawsuit where the Harding Academy here in Nashville wanted to demolish some buildings on their property. And because the neighborhood, I guess NIMBYs, if you want to apply today's term, the NIMBYs didn't want that. And so a Metro Council member filed a zoning change, and it just squashed the whole thing. Ultimately, Harding Academy won on like some procedural issues, but I'm really happy that is no longer the law here in Tennessee, or soon to be.
Yeah, soon to be. Let's jump down to the next topic on our list. Let's talk about taxes. So you probably heard us talk about this on a previous podcast, but Beacon had an entrepreneurship and innovation council that met throughout 2022, and they came up with a whole slew of recommendations to make Tennessee more entrepreneurial and innovation friendly. One of those recommendations was to nix the business tax, the gross receipts tax. And Jordan, why don't you take it away with what Beacon Impact helped push across the finish line this year on those recommendations?
Yeah, so on the tax side, like you said, the business tax, which is a form of a gross receipts tax, which is really just a tax on your revenue, not your net. It's also pretty difficult to calculate too. It's different for different types of businesses. It has different rates. And so we, in our Entrepreneurship and Innovation Council, just said we just need to get rid of this completely. It makes up a very small percentage of the state's revenue. And quite frankly, at this point where we are in collecting money exceeding the expectations, we could have covered that hole, no problem. We can talk about funding stadiums in Memphis this year with that money. But we called for the business tax reform. We also called for reforms to the franchise and excise tax, which both were included in what the governor brought as an administration bill. And so did not get rid of the business tax. It did increase the exemption to $100,000 from $10,000. So if your business brings in revenue below 100, you just don't pay anything at all. The reforms to the franchise and excise tax were huge as well. We can get really technical with some other reforms in there. But overall, I believe it's the largest tax cut in history. When you take all the tax cuts that were in that one bill and put them together, it's about $400 million. And that also includes like sales tax holidays on groceries for 3 months later in the year. And so this is one of those like really great reforms that gets lost in all the chaos of session and doesn't get covered, unfortunately, because this is direct relief to businesses and families.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge point to make is that even though we are an income tax-free state, which as I was doing my taxes, I actually asked my accountant if I owe anything on the state level. And luckily, she's like one of my best friends. And she said, "You idiot, you live in Tennessee." So Tennessee's already a great place to live when it comes to taxes. But then we have another massive tax cut come down the pipe. So I'm used to the Alabama tax structure where I quite literally always owed something and my brain is still not out of that too. I live in Tennessee and Beacon has been a large part of those tax cuts. I know, Mark, you're shaking your head. I was in.
Do not tell Justin that. You've been here forever. How do you not know that? Have you ever filed your taxes before?
No, I always do. I just don't ever talk to my accountant. The girl that's doing my taxes now, I just always send it off and hope for the best. I was just chit-chatting with her this year and she said, "You idiot." And I was like, "Oh, right. That was the dumbest thing I've maybe ever said."
So really, you're just bougie and have an accountant. You can't use TurboTax yourself. You have to have somebody actually do it for you.
Hey, I'm still I'm still on the Carol Dawson payroll when it comes to doing my taxes. She says, send it all over and I'll handle it being done. I'm like, I will take it, honey. I will take it. As long as my mom wants to pay for me to have my taxes done, I am not going to say no. And that's the God's honest truth there. Let's talk about my absolute favorite topic of things that passed this year. Y'all know me. I am all about those education issues. I am all about that school choice. That is what I care about the most out of anything in this world. And man, what a great year for education and school choice. Two big things, one budgetary thing and one opportunity thing. Jordan, hit us on ESA and automatic dues deduction for teachers that Beacon Impact worked so hard on this year and that was finally across the finish line.
Yep. So on the school choice front, so of course we have the education savings account that is a program in Shelby and Davidson County that allows students who meet certain criteria to use the dollars that are allocated for them to go to a different school, to get help, to get tutoring, for other expenses. And this year we were able to add Hamilton County to that program, which is incredibly exciting. We were this close to getting Knox County added as well. But it's a huge win to add Hamilton County to that, because what we need, because we were tied up in the court for 3-ish years with the original program from Shelby and Davidson County. We weren't able to fill those seats. We hadn't been able to get anywhere close. I mean, not necessarily anywhere close, but to get as close to the first year number before it moves up as possible. And so by adding Hamilton County, we're able to get students in those seats so that we can get what we want back. And what the legislators asked for is the data. We want the data. Well, because of Shelby and Davidson counties, we haven't been able to get that yet because the program just this school year got off the ground. So we get pretty frequent updates from the department about the number of applications, the number of people who have been accepted in the program. And it is going to be very helpful to a lot of people. And we're definitely going to get those students in those seats.
Jordan, can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah.
Do you feel like when the data comes out, because we'll eventually have some, right? You just said it's due, but do you think that will be kind of an impetus for other counties in the state to want to get into that once they see, the positive effects of the program in Shelby and Davidson?
Well, it should be, because it's not about money. It's not about anything other than the student's education. And like, as much as the counties and everyone says that, like the lawsuit about Davidson and Shelby County was really about money when it came down to it. So when data comes back that shows that students who are in an environment where they can learn and they feel comfortable, they're not being bullied, whatever the case is, and they have better academic performance, they feel better, that's where they want to be. That should show the other counties that this program works. We don't need to make it about money. We don't need to make it about anything other than we're setting up a student for success in the future. And so it should be.
Yeah, and also another big thing, you mentioned that it was tied up in the courts for so long. Another bill passed this year to grandfather in students who were eligible when the original program started, when it was originally passed, but couldn't benefit from it until it came out of the court system. So not only have we expanded it to another county, we've expanded it to students who were counting on the program before Nashville and Memphis, before Davidson County and Shelby County filed their lawsuits, to now be able to benefit from it like they were originally planning to, like when the program originally gave them hope. So I think that that's absolutely huge that we've expanded it in 2 ways this year to groups of students who couldn't previously do it. And then on the flip side, along with a large teacher pay increase, we have another sort of increase that went through the legislature to stop the automatic payment of teachers union dues from teacher paychecks. Talk about that, Jordan, and Beacon Impact's involvement on that side.
Yeah, that's been something that Beacon Impact has worked on for several years now. And it's what it is it's a payroll deduction, just like other payroll deductions that you have. But what it does is it goes to a union, the teachers, the TEA, which they then send a portion of that to the NEA, National Education Association, who then spends that money on lobbying efforts. And
lobbying efforts against school choice and against tax cuts and against things that
yes.
we believe in.
Well, not only we, but the things that all Tennesseans really believe in. I mean, it's antithetical to our beliefs as a state.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
they spend money. They spend that money on trying to change mascots at schools, advocating for forms of like CRT, just all kinds of stuff that really it's not about education. And so really the government shouldn't be involved in collecting and remitting union dues to begin with. So really the union has been able to get a government employee to do some of their accounting work for free for like decades. I can't remember how many years, but it's been a long time. And so finally, now, if you want to join, you just get online and you sign up just like you do for everything else. In fact, if you go to their website, it says like pay online. Give us your
want to change the way you pay. Yeah.
I mean, that's what they want you to do. And so now, like you said, along with the teacher pay raise, that would put Tennessee in the top 10 for starting teacher salaries, I would believe. So you have that, and then you have this dues deduction prohibition. It's really teacher focused. This is about letting teachers choose what they want to do with their money. That's what it's really about.
Two big pieces of legislation this year. One, to give students a choice, and one, to ultimately give teachers a choice about what they do with their money and have more of that disposable income in their wallets. I think we had a banner year, Jordan. I know there are a few other things that happened. Card check, easing up restrictions on telehealth. There were several things that happened, protecting workers and patients and giving patients access. You can read about all of those things at beacontn.org. We have a blog post. It's in the header of our website. It's on our Facebook page. But ultimately, I think we had a great year. Jordan, I know that was many sleepless nights and lots of running around Cordell Hall for you, but we really do appreciate all the hard work that you put in, and you should brag on yourself because you killed it this year. So congratulations on a great year. Just, working super hard for Beacon Impact. We're all so very thankful for the freedoms that you worked so hard for.
Thank you.
Let's transition to a fun topic, because I think all of us have a level of PTSD from the legislative session that we wouldn't exactly call talking about it fun quite yet until we can decompress from it. But the NFL draft, as of recording this, the NFL draft is tonight. Now, I ain't never watched the NFL draft in my life. Don't know anything about it. I usually watch the first couple picks to see my Bama boys get picked because, they are going in the first round. But I don't really watch it other than that. But I've been keeping up with it this year because by association, now that I got a fella in my life who's a Titans fan, I guess I'm a Titans fan now. So I've been keeping up with it, not enough to really talk about it. So I'm going to leave this up to the boys. Boys, what y'all think is going to happen tonight in the NFL draft? And then if you're wrong, I'll call you out next week.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about this thing is we get to talk about it and then we can be wrong when it posts. It looks like at this point, the odds, I have a lot of bets on it, but it looks like Alabama's got the first two players gone in the draft with Will Anderson likely going 2 now, and then Bryce Young going 1. So what's interesting,
Roll Tide,
the Titans are likely at this point going to try to trade to the third pick because they want a quarterback of the future. They tried to draft Malik Willis last year. He's terrible. And I don't know why they thought, he's just not a good football player. Ryan Tannehill's like 90 and also not good. So they really have an issue with quarterback. And at this point right now, my guess is that the Titans trade it to 3 and they take C.J. Stroud, the Ohio State quarterback, who lit up an elite Georgia defense. So that is my best guess right now. If not, they could use another receiver. There's some, Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State as well could be an option. But my bet right now is on C.J. Stroud and trading up to number 3.
Okay. I'm gonna watch for that. I said that I would go watch tonight. I would watch the thing tonight. I think it's really unfair that you say that Ryan Tannehill's 100 and he's 34. That's only 3 years older than me, and that hurts. And that's your age.
He's
that's
100.
Your age.
NFL years, he's 100. He also plays like he's 70. He is not a fast man or an athletic player. So I feel like he just kind of plays like a good 70-year-old, but maybe not a great NFL starting quarterback at this point.
That's fair. That's fair. I was giving Stetson Bennett a really hard time back in the national championship era in January, which feels like a lifetime ago, saying that he would make a really good car salesman when his college years are up, because I don't think he's going to go to the NFL. Is that, I haven't followed it at all. What's he looking like? Is he going to be a car salesman, insurance? Which one? Banker?
That's a hilarious question. It is literally 50-50. It's plus 100 each side, whether he gets drafted or not. So it's like, and if he gets drafted the 7th round, he still might be a used car salesman. But that is like I'm probably going to bet on him to not get drafted. That seems to be my guess. But people are weird. They might like that he won two championships. Like, I'll take him in the 6th round just because maybe he'll be good.
Well, the Titans better be packing out their stadium to sell more tickets to afford the new stadium. I don't know if y'all been following all that, but it looks like it's going to cost a lot of money. And so I think they're going to need to be selling a lot of tickets to afford that stadium. And maybe the draft will kick that off. Jordan, do you have any thoughts about the NFL draft? It's straight up not my thing, so I'm relying on you guys to carry this segment.
I mean, no, not really. Other than I think Mark had a really great pick there, and I would love to see them do that. I am a Titans fan, especially being here in Nashville, and every once in a while we'll get to a game. But I do hope that at some point they'll pick up some members for the offensive line, and like Mark said, maybe a wide receiver, because they traded everybody away in the offseason, and so they are just full of like terrible choices and trading people away. Robbing the taxpayers of their money for a stadium. And so I wish them the best. But they also have 9,000 less seats to fill in their new stadium, Taylor. So
is that going to mean more expensive tickets or less money for the stadium?
Have you seen the price?
We've paid enough for it. They can afford to get the tickets away for free and still make money on taxpayers. Right. So
that's probably true.
Taylor, I don't know if you've seen the cost to go to a Raiders game in their new stadium. But it is astronomical.
Yeah, I'm not trying to pay that much money. I want to save all my money for Blink-182 concert tickets and Taylor Swift concert tickets.
Some of the only worst use of money is going to one of those things. I'd rather fund stadiums than have to go to that, to be honest.
To each his own, Mark. This is America, and I'm free to go to my concerts that you deem as crappy and that I deem as absolute pure gold.
You're not. I'm an actual fascist when it comes to that. I don't want you to go to these concerts.
I'm gonna clip that and send it to literally everyone that we know. Before we go for the day, I want each of us to go through and name the legislative session accomplishment that Beacon Impact worked so hard on that we are most proud of. I kind of already went with mine, but Mark, what are you hanging your hat on that Beacon Impact was able to do this year that you say this is the thing that I'm going to brag to people about?
I mean, it might be the same as yours, but it's kind of from hearing, what Jordan and Justin have said, that it just seemed really, really unlikely at the start of session that we were going to be able to expand the ESA program. It seemed like that was something that, once we got results way down the road, we can maybe expand and hopefully go statewide. But I think adding, tell me if I'm wrong, Jordan, is Knox the 3rd biggest county in the state? Or not Knox, is Hamilton the 3rd biggest county in the state?
Knox may be the 3rd, and then
it's one of the top 5 counties in terms of population added to that. So it's not like you got some small county, and I think that's a really big deal. I think you've seen the tide turning nationally in school choice, and I think it's really great that that has happened. And it seemed like it was kind of an uphill battle. I mean, you can ask Jordan more about that, but it seemed like to me that was really an impressive feat. That was really kind of unexpected.
Yeah. Jordan, how about you? What are you most proud of when you go to sleep at night and you try not to picture what all you went through being at the Capitol every day for 2 weeks? What are you thinking about as your most proud moment?
Well, I mean, I think we're all proud of giving students more opportunities. Along that line, though, we got the most votes in the House we've ever gotten on a school choice effort. We got 57, 58. It fluctuated a little bit, but that's huge. But I will, just so that I can be different from the two of you guys and make sure that I give Ron and I some credit. Ron and I fought pretty hard to make sure that pending ordinance was included in our agenda. And we also were lobbied against by taxpayer-funded lobbyists and local governments and cities, which is an alarming thing, right? That a city would go, we might want to at some point rezone a piece of property without ever having to vote on it and be accountable. We just might. So we should make sure that this bill doesn't pass. And so I am really proud of the pending ordinance because it was so overwhelmingly supported in both chambers. And I think it is definitely directly tied to housing costs, despite what some of the committee members might say. Our example was if you downzone a property that's zoned for 100 units to 25, the price of those units skyrockets. I mean,
Yeah,
there is
that's
no
so
more
true.
direct. It's simple economics, and I know that escapes some folks, but it is directly tied to that. And I got to use my legal training, my legal education for the pending ordinance doctrine. So I finally put that money spent to use.
Yeah, heck yeah, I love that. Well, as you can probably guess, mine is ESA. Ron told us there are 44,000 students in Hamilton County, and that's a lot of students. And not only that, but all of the students in Davidson and Shelby that missed out on the program when it was tied up in court for so long. What we did this year, what the legislature did this year for Tennessee students was incredible. It opened the door for so many more kids to have an option for a better education. If you want to see some of the success stories from the existing ESA program, we've got a few up on our page, beacontn.org right now. And I get to be the person that talks to those mamas and talks to them about how they chose this program for their kids and the success that their kids are having. And it moves me to tears every single time to hear what they can do. And then now to see that the door is open for so many more students, and hopefully we'll see so many more success stories in the future. So really proud that Beacon Impact could be part of that effort and push that across the finish line. Like I said, check out our website for those ESA success stories, for explainers of what all was going on this year, and for a recap of the legislative session. And with that, let's head out of here, you guys. It was great to talk to both of my favorite dudes today. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us, Jordan.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, if you haven't subscribed to Decaf, you can do so on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.